get the first frontier opening bell for the new week started after Nigeria's long Christmas weekend holiday of Friday, and yesterday, Monday, we're back in business here on Frontier Africa Report as we coast to the final trading days of 2020. Thank you, everyone. Joshua Debisi from Vetiva Capital Management, thank you very much for making the time, the holiday and the season. And of course, Agnes, thank you so much from London. Agnes Gital, Managing Partner at GBS Africa. We understand the situations in London and our hearts and minds with all of you. Thank you so much. I am Bolson Omofaye. A quick look at where we finished off. Nigerian market is closed, but year to date, the Nigerian stock market is leading the rest of the continent by at 44.55%. Not anyone in any other market has come that close. The Ivorian market finished yesterday 1.87. They were open. Egyptian market open for business on Monday 0.69%. Kenya held a new line of 150 on the all share index, and the South African market down by 0.29% on Monday, 59,000 doorstep, just as the virus resurgence in South Africa hits infestations hit 1 million, a figure mark according to Bloomberg this morning. In Kenya, the central bank has rolled out a new national payment system vision and strategy, and the authorities are now asking for comments no later than January 22nd, 2021. The central bank also raised 10 billion out of 24 billion in its weekly treasury bills auction. That's just as we're getting the new week started yesterday. Yesterday was the trading day, of course, official trading day in Kenya for to start the week. Mwalimu National Association of Cooperatives says it's complete the acquisition of this particular bank, and still talking consolidation. The NIC Capital will stop operation after merging with the Commercial Bank of Africa. The big story for the African continent throughout the holiday, from South Africa to Nigeria to Kenya, is all about the virus infestations. Agnes.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Boston, and thank you. So stories, headlines from Kenya with Mwalimu Sacco, which is a cooperative that is bringing savings from the teachers and teachers in Kenya. It acquires Spires Bank. This has been ongoing since 2014. Mwalimu Sacco is the biggest shareholder for Spires Bank. So this acquisition is sort of a sign to show that this circle that just started, because a lot of Kenyan workers had no access to formal banking, so they started these cooperative or saving societies, and they've grown to become really quite strong financial institutions. So this acquisition of Spires Bank, I think it's an ongoing conversation. I think you lead another story of NIC and Commercial Bank of Africa. This also was completed. The completion of this deal was back in 2019. What we're seeing in the Kenyan market is consolidation of financial institutions, just because there are so many in the market. We have so many of them, and so therefore not profitable. So them coming together is a sign, and also sort of a push by the regulator. So two stories of acquisition, and I guess it's towards the end of the year we're going to see more of this. Spires Bank has been struggling like a lot of other financial institutions in the continent. It's posted a loss for this year, this end of December, and then this acquisition hopefully consolidates the institution. So that's it from Kenya for me.
Yes, thank you so much. Consolidation within the banking industry in Kenya has been one big story throughout the year, from Equity Bank to Cooperative Bank and others, even in insurance, by the way, with Allianz coming through from Switzerland and picking up some of the Atlas Maras insurance companies, about 5 of them within the East African region, from Uganda to Kenya and Tanzania as well, which is now being concluded. Then the Orient Bank as well in Uganda with consolidation. So that's one big story for headline story for the East African region, leading the rest of the continent. Although we had a few Nigerian banks like Access Bank making inroads into Rwanda, into Kenya, and into Central African Republic as well, Congo DRC. The Nigerian banking sector, if you look at the top story, is the story still around the diaspora remittances. It looks like this story is not going away anytime soon, Joshua, because it looks like the bureau de change operators now asking the central bank that they want to be the agent, the payout agents for the diaspora remittances are no longer the commercial banks. It looks like the tussle is out there. Where dollar is involved, I think there is some money to be made. Everybody wants to be part of the game, no matter the size, at least if not as much as $20-25 billion a year, even if it is 10, 11, 15 billion, everybody wants a slice of that pie. The National Insurance Regulator, NICOM, asked the Universal Insurance to underwrite agriculture, but the news that we got was that the courts stopped the insurance sector consolidation, which was to end this weekend. Some shareholders have gone to court. The court has said the exercise should stop. It's been about 3 years or 4 years in the making. It looks like we don't know when it will be restarted or if it will ever get to a finishing line anytime soon. Mining permit for Canada's Global Atomic Corporation has been granted as uranium in Niger Republic, just north of Nigeria's border. And AfDB has posted West Africa Regional Integration Strategy Paper. It is online, 2021-2025. And I'm happy with this document because it will help us integrate the region a whole lot better. Perhaps we'll be able to resolve some of the issues between the English-speaking West Africa and French-speaking West Africa and get a whole lot more economic integration as the East African community, EAC, have had it. Agnes, you give us a minute on that quickly, but let's Joshua speak to us about this diaspora remittances and APCON weighing into this. Bureau de change operators have been silent on this issue. Now they've come out to speak.
Well, thank you, Bryson. But I think the logic sort of makes sense. The strategy, makes sense. If you think about it in terms of dollar inflows into Nigeria, I think, diaspora remittances is the biggest earner for, or the biggest source of foreign exchange for Nigeria as a whole. So I think, if they want to just corner that market and, take over that from the commercial banks, you can sort of understand the logic or the thinking behind it. That would, turn them from, millionaires to multi-billionaires, I think. We already know that, most of the bureau de change licenses are held by northerners. And so that would just, I guess, be one, way of boosting their economic value to a certain extent. Although I don't think that that's, realistically going to be allowed at this moment in time. Although, I don't know. I think giving them the option or adding them to it, you can't say, okay, they should be exclusively in charge of diaspora remittances. But, giving them access or allowing them to, open up the market could actually deepen the market rather than just shifting it from one place to another. If you allow them to also be able to, pay out and collect on behalf of that, and then that could actually work. That could, open up a whole new avenue in terms of, business and business opportunities. Although I think that the fintechs would argue that they are better suited or in better positioned, in fact, to be able to, expand and basically commit to giving out those remittances or, creating systems for remittances that are simpler and, bypass the banks. And I think that's already being done to some extent using, fintechs. But overall, I don't see a chance for that to happen, universally where, okay, they'll just take over exclusively. And I do also want to speak about the whole NICOM issue. First of all, we know that the Nigerian insurance sector is far smaller than it should be. For a country as big as Nigeria, with the population the size that Nigeria has, insurance should be a much larger, part of our economy. And the insurance companies should be as big as banks, really. but obviously due to the lack of real legislation forcing individuals to have insurance. Homeowners insurance is not common. Automobile insurance is more common, is getting more common as time goes by, but I think it still hasn't penetrated to the level that you would expect for such a big country, and other forms of insurance as well. Now, as far as agricultural risk, I think that that's actually a very big market due to the fact that we've seen a lot of cases of farmlands being attacked or being spoiled by either roaming cows or
Flooding.
things like that. So, and flooding and other, insecurity as well. So these kinds of things, definitely there is a market for it. Now, it's obviously, first of all, to give them the opportunity to do so, but also to educate people, educate farmers on the need to ensure the farmland, to ensure their crop, to ensure their harvest, to ensure that, even if something goes wrong or their harvest is not as bountiful as they're expecting, they're still able to,
Yes.
They don't lose all their money. And if they take out loans, they're still able to repay those loans and survive to the next planting season.
I
So
get your
this
point.
that's a very big thing. Now, as for the
That's a big
consolidation,
one.
yeah, so the consolidation, I think obviously it was going to be a very big opportunity. It would have allowed for the underwriting of much bigger projects because we've still been talking about, underwriting of oil and gas projects. Offshore oil and gas would be a very big one if local insurance companies are able to underwrite oil and gas projects. That would really, really deepen and broaden the market. So I think it'd be misguided for that to be halted, and I think would it would be expedient for them to restart that and get it moving as quickly as possible.
Well said when it comes to the insurance sector. I think somehow perhaps the NICOM, the sector regulator, has not been as tough as it should be. I know central bank will have his way. If it's a central bank wants to do consolidation, they'll get it done. But this fit and start over time is not looking good for those who've gone to the market to raise funds. And some of them have done quite a whole lot only for at the last minute to get it stopped. But again, it's a development. NICOM itself, the regulator has not responded, officially speaking, to that court order. So we expect that to happen now that we'll return back to business today. I think that injunction was secured just a day before Christmas or 2 days or so. So we'll wait to hear from NICOM how they will proceed with the court's injunction on the deadline. Agnes, let's talk about this West Africa integration strategy that the AfDB is pursuing. Do you think there are things we can borrow from the East African community?
Thank you, Boston. Would you rather I speak on the diaspora remittance? I'm always really fascinated at so many at the opportunities that the remittance offers,
Yes.
really, for businesses, and the fact that institutions back at home are usually very late in really tapping into this opportunity. And I think it's great that the institution wants to have control. It's impossible, but for me it would be interesting to see what products are they offering. Are they innovative enough? How can they be competitive compared to the others in the market? And I think that's what anybody sending money, for domestic use or for investment, that's what they'll be looking out for. What sort of technology in remittance or innovation in the remittance channels, so that you can do much more with your dollars than just sending it to be used by your relative. Yeah, on the West Africa integration paper, I'm not too sure whether in East Africa there's much to offer. What happens within the EAC economic region is that yes, there are challenges. There are still issues on non-tariff barriers. There are still issues on competition. But what I think we've managed is that we are able to resolve these issues when it comes to barriers to trade. We are constantly trying to resolve them. So there is conversation between the ministers of trade. There's also conversation at the highest level of the state, where heads of government will come in to intervene if there is a blockade which blocks trade within the East Africa. We have moved the integration processes, because there's a political will, and there is a private sector will. So this is driven by private sector, and our politicians, as you know, are businessmen. So they would want to make sure that the borders are operational, and so they can take advantage. For West Africa, I think ECOWAS has a great opportunity, and I know the pillars are on economic integration, social, and political integration. And I think this paper will it's anchored on the vision of ECOWAS, and I think will be supporting capacity building towards economic integration, but also infrastructure connectivity, which in return will promote trade within the region. But look, we just a few days before the Africa Free Trade Agreement kicks off on the 1st of January, there are still so many challenges we are yet to resolve. But looking forward, maybe there won't be a need for an ECOWAS. There'll be a need for us to now look how can we trade across the region. But yeah, certainly the paper really focuses on the vision that ECOWAS is built on, and it will promote infrastructure connectivity. And without infrastructure, it's impossible to fully integrate the region.
Okay, I will try and delve into this very strategy paper by the AfDB. I'm sure there'll be some nuggets of what to take away from there, because ECOWAS, as you said, 45 years down the line, it was to be an economic cooperation region, but economy had never really been at the forefront of the ECOWAS, except for a few things. It's a whole lot more about political sovereignty and what have you, more than economic well-being of the region. But let's look at South Africa, and we sympathize with the whole virus spreading and the hard lockdown that is coming back, at least level 3, at least for now. That's what we know. So there'll be no sale of alcohol, there'll be no transportation of alcohol, there'll be nothing of that nature. There are a whole lot of restrictions on movement. And this is something that Africa's most advanced economy can hardly afford. The IDC says it's no longer buying Exxaro's 24.4% stake in this mining company. Attacq is agreeing to sell 41.7 million shares in MAS, 500 million rand. Oryx Properties, 2.7 million Namibian shillings, rent relief for customers year to date. That looks like some money for those who have invested in that real estate insurance, real estate investment trust. And the Zambia micro-lending startup, Premier Credit, says it's been able to rake in $650,000 funding, micro-lending startups in Africa, one of the big stories of the continent for SSA, including North Africa so far in 2020. Joshua, we've seen in the last few days, I'm sure in the news, that the authorities in Lagos have shut down a few major event centers where the authority says they broke the law or the COVID-19 regulations. You think this is a very good way to go, not only to back, but also to bite, looking at the footprints in South Africa?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think people have just been so careless. Obviously, the problem is that December is, known for, packing a lot of festivities and a lot of weddings and a lot of events. So I think people just can't help themselves. So they need the government to step in and to sort of say that, these things are not allowed. You have to, keep it to a maximum of 50 people, social distance, and follow COVID guidelines, which a lot of people have not been doing. I mean, there have been videos going out circulating over the weekend of people sort of, packed into an event center, hundreds and hundreds of people. And they're just wondering whether or not, they've been told that COVID has, just evaporated. So I think to some extent, the truth is there has to be a lot more action. I think that definitely we want to avoid another lockdown as much as possible. But the truth is there have to be a lot of, steps put in place. Places need to be shut down. Events need to be shut down. And restrictions need to be put in place. And as long as that happens, then we should be fine. And we shouldn't need to go the route of South Africa. But, we're getting there, unfortunately.
We're getting there, unfortunately. What news are you getting back from Nairobi, Agnes, in terms of the virus footprints and what the authorities are doing?
I think what is happening across our countries is they're watching the situation in Europe, and how the virus is now spreading 70% faster than the initially, and people are getting worried. And I think I think what we can do. I'm not. Nairobi still has the usual lockdown, semi-lockdown. 9 p.m. You have to be home by 9 p.m. But just like Lagos and other countries, people will take advantage of the situation, and it's very difficult to coerce folks to follow the guidelines. But everybody was hopeful that with the news of a vaccine, that towards the end of 2020, we will not be thinking about economic lockdown. I think this will put us strain again to the beginning of the year, when everybody was looking for a recovery or looking for some good news in regards to sort of curbing the spread of COVID-19. But unfortunately, it is not great news, but I think certainly better than what we in Europe are experiencing. And my message is, I think we need to actually, as Joshua says, just follow the public health guidelines, because as you've seen, it is real and it spreads. And when hospitals cannot manage the numbers, then it becomes a crisis in the region. And I think we can learn from what others are doing, and I think experiences of past pandemics like Ebola has certainly helped Africa to be able to deal with this issue better than the Western countries. We've been lucky. I say we've been lucky, but we shouldn't take advantage. We shouldn't get our guards down. As you've seen in South Africa, and President Ramaphosa was very clear that the country has let its guard down, and now they have to take tough measures, and that tough measures have dire, impact on communities, and already people are already suffering. So we need to take these guidelines seriously. They're not political, and a lot of people think it is COVID doesn't exist, but these are not political issues. It does, and it has an impact, and everybody has to do whatever it takes to ensure that
I agree with you completely. But this has been a 1 year where the stock market had been rallying, defying COVID-19 first wave and even the second wave. The story in this morning, Japanese market is just bulldozing its way through the year. Nigeria has done about 44, nearly 45%. Joshua is one person who's made some money this year, by the way. 45% on the stock market portfolio. Inflation about 15%. I'm sure you can ditch inflation 15% and still go home with about 25 to 30%. Josh, you think this will continue for the final days of 2020?
Well, before that, I think you're forgetting devaluation. You have to, factor in devaluation. But I think this is still a positive at the end of that. But at the same time, I think the trajectory is still positive for the remaining three trading sessions of the year. I don't think we're going to start seeing any kind of sell-off now. People have been optimistic in the market, that 2021 is going to be a better year, both for the economy and, for these companies as well, because of the fact that we expect to see, some pretty solid dividend payouts in 2021, hopefully. But the truth is that I think that has been one of the few highlights of the year, and, post-COVID and post-lockdown really, is that the market came out swinging and has, just been on the up and up. Overall, I don't know if we're going to see that same level in 2021. I think following historical trends, we usually see a big jump like this after recession. Then the subsequent years are a bit less bullish. But overall, we might at least this year we'll close out on a high. I think, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I saw the Kenyan market also around 10% so far this year. I think with the slight currency depreciation also in Kenya, I think investors will still not have a totally bad year. But the banking sector for the Kenyan market is one big story in terms of the huge write-downs and the impact of COVID-19 on businesses. For North Africa, let's wrap it up there, where the central bank has held rates for the final time in 2020 and lowers its inflation target. Egyptian central bank has cut rates very rapidly at the opening of the year with the COVID-19 between March, April, and May. Now they're holding those key rates and trying to see the impact of this interest rate cut earlier in the year on the economy. But if you look at the impact, it's been positive because we've seen inflows of direct investments into the Egyptian market, including areas such as healthcare and others as well, with a whole lot of handshake across the Mediterranean with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, as well as others. Tunisia, the telecommunication company, says it signed 2-year sponsorship deal. Suez Canal Bank granting about £500 million Egyptian pounds to first design estate development. Last week, the news about the new hotel being built in Egypt, which is going to be a major one, was also there. So between the real estate for housing and for hospitality, leisure, it looks like the Egyptians are preparing themselves for post-pandemic. And Cleopatra Hospital says it will acquire Alameda's Egypt convertible loan notes. That's just a bit of wrapping it up. I think the Egyptian Central Bank will be one of the final central banks to take decisions so far this year. Thank you so much, my panelists. I appreciate your time this morning. Joshua Debisi, we appreciate your time, from Vertiva Capital, Head of Banking Research, and Agnes Jetal from GBS Capital. Thank you so much, Managing Partner. We appreciate your time also from London. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe, stay healthy, and let's meet together tomorrow morning once again. Thank you. We appreciate your coming on for Help Me Bell. Bye for now.